In the deep darkness of a prehistoric night, when fire was still a rare miracle, the world belonged to creatures we can barely imagine today. Some hunted with teeth, some hunted with claws, and some hunted with silence. Because the most feared predator of the early human world was the giant serpent that killed without a sound. Tonight, we travel back hundreds of thousands of years to a time when early humans walked through tall grasslands, dense jungles, and river valleys, never knowing if a massive body of muscle and scales was waiting beneath their feet. This is the untold story of the giant snakes that hunted early humans and the desperate fight for survival that shaped our species. The African night is warm. Cicadas hum. A small clan of early Homo sapiens builds a simple camp. Children sleep close to the fire. A few adults keep watch, but their eyes are focused on the shadows between the trees, not realizing the real danger is already inside the circle of light. Sliding silently through the grass, a massive serpent, longer than 3 grown men, moves like a living shadow. Its heat-sensing pits lock on to the warm bodies near the fire. It waits, watching, calculating. Early humans feared many things, but nothing terrified them like a predator they could not hear. Most people know the legend of Titanoboa, the 13-meter megasnake from 60 million years ago, but humans never met it. By the time our ancestors appeared, Titanoboa was long gone, but other giants remained. Gigantophis in ancient Africa, massive Madtsoiid serpents that survived for millions of years, and in the age of early humans, colossal African rock pythons capable of reaching over 6 meters and weighing more than 200 kilograms. These were not myths. These were real, powerful predators, perfectly evolved to take down primates, antelope, and sometimes humans. To a giant snake, early humans were the perfect target. They moved slowly at night. They slept on the ground. They traveled in small groups, and their bodies gave off heat like a beacon in the darkness. Snakes do not rely on sight. They hunt using vibration, heat, and silence. When a giant serpent attacked a human, there was no roar, no warning, no chance to escape. Just the sudden impact of coils and the crushing force of a predator built to suffocate its prey in seconds. Imagine an early human scout wandering away from camp at dawn. The grass is cool, the air is quiet. He kneels to drink from a river, and the water explodes. A serpent longer than a canoe rises from the depths, striking with lightning speed. Teeth hook into his arm, coils wrap around his chest. His scream echoes across the valley. By the time his clan reaches him, the serpent is dragging him backwards into the reeds. Spears are thrown. The serpent releases its grip. It retreats into the river, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. This scene did not happen once. It happened countless times across the prehistoric world. But early humans were not helpless. They adapted, they learned, they survived. First, they discovered the most powerful weapon against snakes: fire. Snakes hate heat they cannot control. When humans began keeping fire through the night, giant serpents avoided the warm glow and stayed hidden in the grass. Second, humans invented stone-tipped spears. A single spear thrown correctly could pierce the thick scales of a python and force it to retreat. Third, humans learned to build elevated sleeping platforms, lifting themselves above the reach of ground predators. And finally, they understood the patterns of snakes. They learned to spot the tracks, the shed skins, the ambush sites near rivers and water holes. Knowledge became a weapon, and for the first time, the silent hunters had to fear the humans. Not all snakes targeted humans intentionally, but some were large enough to, and occasionally did. A fully grown rock python can swallow prey up to the size of a small antelope. In rare cases throughout human history, they have swallowed people as well. Now imagine this same species bigger, stronger, and far more common during the age of early humans. These were forests and savannas where the largest snakes were 30% bigger than the pythons we know today. To a hungry serpent, a lone human was simply another warm body. The clan sits around the fire. The flames crackle. Children sleep. The night feels calm. But in the grass behind them, a massive shape rises. The serpent begins to move, slowly, silently, perfectly. A hunter notices. He raises his spear. A warning cry splits the air. The serpent strikes, but this time, humans are ready. Spears stab forward, torches blaze. The serpent recoils, the heat light blinding its heat-sensing pits. It retreats into the grass, defeated. For the first time in history, mankind stands united against a giant predator and wins. The memory of these monstrous snakes lived on for thousands of years, in ancient myths, in campfire stories, in the instinctive fear that still wakes us when something moves through the grass at night. We no longer share our world with gigantic serpents capable of hunting humans, but our ancestors did, and their survival defined us. Because every time a fire burns in the dark, every time humans gather together for protection, we remember the ancient nights when giant snakes ruled the shadows, and the courage it took to fight them.